It was an ordinary afternoon at a small gym on the outskirts of town when the moment that would change everything took place. The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above the mats, and the air smelled of sweat, leather gloves, and determination. Nobody knew that within the hour, a lesson about respect, resilience, and true strength would unfold in a way no one could ever forget. Valentina Shevchenko, calm as always, was there for a light training session. She had dropped by quietly, blending in like she often did, wearing nothing flashy, just her simple training clothes and her trademark quiet smile. Some didn't recognize her right away. Others did, but underestimated her presence, thinking she was just another martial artist passing through. But in the corner of the gym, 3 men, bigger, louder, and far more arrogant, watched her with mocking grins. "Look at her," one of them sneered, nudging his friend. "She thinks she's tough. Probably watches too many action movies." The others laughed. Their laughter was sharp, full of the kind of cruelty that only comes from insecurity. They didn't see a world champion standing before them. They saw a smaller woman, someone they thought they could toy with, someone they believed they could intimidate. Valentina heard every word, but she didn't react. She tied her hair back and adjusted her gloves, preparing to spar with one of the trainers. But the men weren't finished. "Hey, why don't you spar with us instead?" one of them shouted across the mat. "Or are you afraid of a real challenge?" The gym grew quiet. Everyone knew who she was by then, and a few shook their heads in disbelief. To challenge Valentina Shevchenko was not only reckless, it was borderline suicidal. But Valentina looked up, her expression calm, almost serene. "I don't like hurting people," she said softly. "But if you insist, I'll show you why respect matters." Her words weren't loud, but they carried weight. The men only laughed harder, mistaking her humility for weakness. They stepped onto the mats, puffing out their chests like roosters. The trainer tried to intervene. "This isn't a good idea," he warned. But the bullies pushed past him, smirking with confidence. The first one stepped forward. He was tall, broad, and brimming with false bravado. He lunged at Valentina with wild swings, aiming to impress his friends. In a blink, Valentina slipped past his strike, pivoted, and with a flick of her leg, swept him to the ground. He landed hard, staring up at the ceiling in stunned silence. The second man rushed in, anger flashing in his eyes. He tried to grab her, but Valentina's movements were fluid, precise, and impossibly fast. A single strike to his midsection folded him in half, and with a graceful throw, she had him pinned before he even understood what happened. He groaned, gasping for air, as his friend's laughter faded into uneasy silence. The third man hesitated. His earlier arrogance melted away, replaced with doubt. But pride wouldn't let him walk off the mat. He came at her with everything he had, shouting as he swung wildly. Valentina didn't flinch. She ducked, dodged, and redirected his momentum with flawless technique. In seconds, she had him trapped in a submission hold, and he slapped the mat desperately, begging to be released. The gym erupted. Not with cheers, not with mocking laughter, but with awe. Everyone had just witnessed the difference between empty arrogance and true mastery. The 3 bullies lay scattered across the mats, groaning and holding their bruised egos. Valentina stood tall, but she didn't gloat. She didn't laugh at them or humiliate them further. Instead, she extended her hand to help the third man up. Her calm voice broke the silence. "Strength isn't about hurting others. It's about control, respect, and discipline. Remember that." Her words cut deeper than any strike could. The men lowered their heads, shame washing over them. The arrogance that had fueled their laughter was gone. They muttered apologies, their voices trembling with sincerity. The trainer stepped forward, shaking his head with a smile. "You wanted to see what real toughness looks like. Now you know." The gym buzzed with energy for the rest of the day, but the mood had shifted. Everyone who witnessed the moment walked away with more than just a story. They walked away with a lesson about humility. For the 3 men, it was a life-changing experience. Days later, they returned to the gym, not as bullies, but as students. They bowed respectfully to Valentina and asked if they could learn. She welcomed them, not with pride, but with patience. And slowly, they began to understand what true strength meant. Valentina Shevchenko didn't just defeat 3 bullies that day. She transformed them. She showed everyone that the greatest victories aren't won through domination or cruelty, but through teaching, through compassion, and through living as an example of discipline and honor. And that's why her story lingers in the minds of everyone who was there. Because in a world where arrogance is loud, true strength speaks quietly, and still commands the room. The message is clear. Respect everyone, underestimate no one, and remember that real strength is not in fists or muscles, but in the heart and the mind that guide them.